granted cash bail of 3 million plus to nationals. So if a refugee was granted cash bail of 1 million, I don't think it's really too much.
In 2014, Laurent, Boringo and Johanna, all refugees residing in Nachivale settlement in Isingiro, a district in Uganda, were arrested and detained on a charge of malicious damage to property.
Dushyikirizwa mu ikote, tugeze mu ikote, ubwo duhita tujyanwa muri prison.
Bamaze kutujyana muri prison tubamo, bakomeza kudutera za rimanda nyinshi cyane. Buryo rimanda twayimazeho umwaka n'amezi abiri.
While some judicial officers have granted bail to refugees, the majority insist on sureties being Ugandan, despite the fact that many host communities are highly suspicious of and reluctant to associate with refugees.
Bo bagiye kutubwira baratubwira batapana impunzi ntigira emeze nk'idafite aderesi. Ati ntabwo dushobora kwikiriza ko impunzi zihagarara mugenzi wayo kubera uko mushobora no kugera hanze mukaba mwabura gutyo ukaburana na wa wundi wakugize gute wakwemereye.
Bakadusaba ngo tuzane abataka. Tugasanga rero nta mutaka tuziranye. Ubwo bituma dugira dute dufunga igihe ndetse muri make nibwo twaje gutindamo bageze baduca amashiringi yo kutunaniza.
A further obstacle for refugees seeking to access bail is the cash bail requirement. The majority of refugees living in settlements such as Nachivale are poor and cannot afford cash bail, which is usually high.
Bageze batwaka miliyoni zo kuduhagarara z'ubwema, miliyoni bisanga tutayibona, ubwo tuyibuze tugira dute dukomeza kuburana tuba muri gereza aho ngaho.
We may look at the offense and say fine, okay, let him deposit 2-3 million depending on the seriousness of the case, but we also put another provision that in case you fail to produce this person as and when required in court, that is if that person runs away, so we come to you, the surety, and ask you, now you pay us this amount of money, so you pay.
To be granted bail, the applicant must also prove that he or she has a fixed place overboard. Some judicial officers have argued that a refugee settlement is not a fixed place overboard. The reality, however, is that many refugees have lived in the settlements for many years.
When we look at the refugees, they're usually in between countries. Some are always back and forth. Today they're in Congo, tomorrow they're in Uganda. You can't ascertain where they will be tomorrow. So we're a little bit hesitant to grant them bail.
A person you've just arrested on the street and whom you don't know where they reside, how are you going to trace this person if he's released on bail? So we ask them at times to get us letters from their local council chairperson. And the letter usually says, I know this person, he's a good resident, law-abiding, only that this time he just found himself on the wrong side of the law. That kind of letter gives us a lot of assurance that this person, in case of anything, we know where to find them.
As OPM, we've had circumstances whereby we assist refugees get bail, we assist refugees get out of prison by providing letters indicating that this person is not the office of the Prime Minister. And our commandants have done this in a number of settlements that are down there.
I would need a family attestation, a letter from the Prime Minister's office proving that actually this person is a refugee. They also who disguise as refugees when in actual sense they are not.
In making a determination on an application for bail by refugees, judicial officers are required to exercise their discretion judiciously.
But you see, if you have committed an offense that is very serious, for instance, murder, if you are found guilty, we still have the death penalty on our books of law in this country, Uganda. It could be a death penalty for you. So when the person weighs this, he says, look, I've been released on bail, but for sure when I look at the evidence that there is out there, I mean, I will just be convicted and sentenced to death. They can easily get tempted to disappear and you will never see them again.
There are certain considerations that a court has to take into account before bail is granted. For example, the nature of the offense and the severity of punishment that a person is likely to suffer if they are found guilty, and whether they will interfere with witnesses or not.
I would wonder how a judge or magistrate in this matter, where there is meant to be bail to be paid, and probably there is a prescribed amount of money, will selectively give a refugee lesser money as compared to what is provided for. However, I would encourage that the judicial officers use this judicial discretion to see that bail is given to the refugees.
While the provisions on bail are not discriminatory, equal application of the law to different categories of people creates indirect discrimination.
When the law is applied equally or across board, you're using the same lens to look at different categories of persons. For example, the law says provide substantial sureties. So the refugees will get the persons they consider substantial enough to represent them and to even stand in for them, who will obviously, and in most cases, be family members and friends, and usually refugees themselves. The same thing that a national will do. But in this case, the magistrate or the judge will inquire more about, but the person that you have brought to stand in for you is a refugee. They are just like you. Most probably, once we have granted bail, you will leave jurisdiction. You will cross back to your country. Again, at that point, we see the same provision of the law. When you look at how it is being applied, it creates a disadvantage to the refugees.
It is a question of looking at the circumstances of each case. So we cannot now say, since they are vulnerable, they must have some favor or sort. So the law must be interpreted similarly to as it applies to other citizens of the community. But we are aware, as judicial officers, we are cognizant that these are vulnerable group who don't have the means of sustenance, who don't have the fixed places of abode, and some of the considerations we do take into account in granting. But there must be one determinant. As long as we have the assurance that they will turn up, I think they are entitled to bail.
Refugees who are denied bail are remanded to prison for long periods of time, with negative impacts on their mental well-being, particularly where conditions are poor.
Inkoni zo zonyine ziba zirimo. Ugera mu gihome bakakwereka ku rukuta bati ni umutwaro w'akana. Waba utawufite ukikiriza hasi bakagutera inki kugeza igihe baruhiye.
Twaryaga rimwe ku munsi tukazongera kurya nk'ejo saa 9 z'amanywa.
Imara kuyigeramo nitegereje iyo gereza ni akantu gafite metero, ako badushyizemo ni akantu gafite metero 6 kuri 5, hagezemo nsangamo abasibe 57. Ni ukuvuga ngo haba harimo ngo imyanya bita ikizungu nyine iba yarashyizweho n'abayobozi ba gereza babasibe. Uwo mwanya bita ikizungu uryamamo abantu nk'8. Usanga n'ubundi umuntu witwa impunzi afashwe nabi, afatwa nabi.
Where the detainee is the family breadwinner, these long periods on remand also make it impossible to fend for their family.
Hari utekereza kwiyahura bikakunanira, utubwana bwanjye ndaba mbusize he, ndabusigira umurage mu cyangwa burabaho bute, ukareba rero bikagushobora.
Ubwo ariko tugemura twanagerayo nabwo hariya nyine bibari ibikomeye, hakaba higiye batubuza no kwinjira ngo tumugemure tukirirwa duhagaze, ugasanga mbega ni ibintu by'imiserero.
Refugees operate within the same economy and social structure like all Ugandans. But that does not mean that it's fair that they stay on remand for long. But it's a general structural problem which you and I should be addressing and bring to the fore, and try to advocate for quick resolution of some of these cases.
If there is an application made by a refugee and the people in charge of the refugees that's in their camps come in and say, look, this person is staying in our camp, we know everything about him. If he's to make any move out of this country, it's us even to determine. We know when it should be. This person will never leave the country without your notice.
Court should weigh the circumstances of each case. And in this case, we are looking at refugees who don't have a source of income. They depend on rations by UNHCR, food rations. You cannot expect a refugee to be having to raise 1 million shillings for bail.
We have to do a lot of sensitization to all these public offices and public officers for them to understand who a refugee is. We need to tell them that refugee protection is a humane or a humanitarian act. And when it comes to that, it requires you to have what they call some discretion of sorts, with not necessarily compromising the law.
Nuko yadushyiriraho gahunda yo kudufasha, ikadufasha mu byerekeranye n'abantu bafunzwe, bakajya baduhagararira, batadushyiriyeho za cash bail za miliyoni, nk'ibyo byose niyo message naba.
Impunzi zimerewe nabi cyane, iragera muri gereza ikabura gikurikirana. Nubwo ikitiyamba nuko ya agezaho ariko muramuza akamwangira mbega ngo ariko muramuza yagezaho ububuranira impunzi agezaho rubanda ariko muramuza kanga katubera iki.